Hey everybody, welcome to Adobe Live. It's my pleasure to be streaming to you once again, and today we're going to be doing another creative kickoff. I'm happy to be back in my chair doing these kickoffs. Sometimes I'm traveling, sometimes I've got other things going on. I can't always do these every week. There is one every week, whether I'm doing it or not, but I'm happy to be here once again in front of you doing what I like doing. So if this is your first time on Adobe Live, welcome. You can hang out watching wherever you're watching from. So if you happen to be watching on YouTube, TikTok, I'm sorry, not TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think those are the other places that the ones I can think of. Oh, and Twitch. You can hang out there. If you want to participate in the main chat, head over to b.net/Adobe Live. That's where the moderators are. So the moderators are in a couple different places, but usually that's where they hang out the most. And that's where your question is liable to be seen by me and others. I will try to look at the other chat. So see, I see Stephanie coming in, Andrew Kavanaugh coming in from YouTube and Facebook, and Low-Key and George over on YouTube. But I won't always get a chance to look at every single chat and chat window. So with that said, let me fix one chat though. I can make this one a little better. Let's refresh this one. And today we're going to do 5 tools every Photoshop user should know. So that's the task for today. And there we go. So now we got those coming in, and I can go ahead and put these up. And sorry about the little window reorganizing. There we go. I just want to make sure I can see the questions that I can see. Okay. So great for so many of you to be joining us, to be joining us today. And again, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our topic. Since we have such short time on these creative kickoffs, they're like 25 minutes tops. And I just want to give you something to kick off your day with. So let's turn that off. Let's switch over to the desktop. I got my desktop open, and I've got Photoshop open, and we're going to do tool number 1. So tool number 1 is the object selection tool. So there are dozens of tools in Photoshop, and you should know them all, or at least all the ones you use. So this is not by any means the only 5 you should know. It's just these are 5 that I cherry picked that are either new, a lot of people don't use yet, they have some new features, and just you should know about them. So this doesn't mean only use these 5. It just means here are 5 you should pay attention to if you haven't been paying attention to them already. All right, so let's jump into the object selection tool. Now keep in mind too that my toolbar probably looks very different than yours, because that is one of the first things I'll just, as a side note, you can customize your toolbar. So if you go to edit and come down to toolbar, you can literally rearrange and drag the tools in whatever order you best want them in. And you can pull tools out. Like for example, if I had a tool group here, let's say I wanted to separate the brush tool and move it up, I can move the brush tool up, and now that tool has been moved up right under the remove tool on the tool panel. So it happens live. And more importantly, tools you never use. Like there are some tools I just very, very rarely, if ever, use. I can pull those off the tool panel to make my tool panel customized just for my workflow, just for the things I do. So all these tools on the right-hand side are tools that I pulled off that I almost or never use. And once you're done, you can actually even save that toolbar as a preset. So I've got a few in here. And that way, if you ever install a new version of Photoshop, or the Photoshop beta, or a completely new Photoshop in the future, you can load back in your custom toolbars, because they'll be saved in a folder. So that way you always have your customizations done. So put them in the order you want, take off the ones you don't want, separate out the ones you want to separate out, and then save your toolbar so you can always load it back in if you need to again. So that's just a bonus tip. Now let's get to that first tool, which is the object selection tool. So as you can see, I've got just a platter here of bagels and tomatoes and leaves and things like that. And if I go ahead and click on the object selection tool, in the upper left corner of the tool panel, you'll know, wrong button, you'll notice that there's a little spinny thing. And that little spinny thing spins for a few seconds while it processes and figures out where all the objects are. Once it stops spinning like it has on mine, then that means it's done and it knows where all the objects are on the scene, at least all the ones it's identified. It may not get them all right because that is the way AI works. But if I hover over an object, it then gives me that little pink outline to let me know, hey, I know what these objects are, even the individual tomatoes or the whole thing or that piece of bread or that leaf. And if you click, it just makes that selection for you, just like that. So it's a much, much faster way of selecting than anything we've had before, because you literally just either click it or you can drag it out on what you want to select. So you'll notice in the tool panel here, or the control panel here, you have two options for how you can drag it if you want to select multiple objects. You can either choose between a rectangle or a lasso. I think rectangle is the default. So if I were to just go ahead and grab a rectangle around those two objects, it'll select both of those objects for me. So for those of you who can't see it, let me zoom in. I keep hitting my speaker icon button, but that's the selection it made. So just a much, 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 much faster way of doing selections than anything we've had before. Now, it will annoy the heck out of you if you leave it selected while you're trying to work, because it keeps making everything pink. And that's because it's still working. It's still saying, I'm going to figure out where everything is and show you an outline. So if you hover over an object, the pink goes away on the background. But if you hover over the background, meaning not an object, it shows you everything that's highlighted that it thinks it can use. I use this all the time. Now, there is one hidden feature about it. I'm going to deselect, Command D, and if I just select the tool, I'm not hovering over any particular object, and I come over here to the Layers panel, even though I'm not working in layers right now, I just have the background. You can right-click on your layer, and there's an option called Mask All Objects. So that means take this technology that's figured out where everything is and just create a separate mask for every single one that you know in the Layers panel. So it's doing that calculation right now, and there they all are. So it's gone through everything. Now, of course, it's not going to name them for you. It doesn't know what they are. It doesn't know, hey, bagel on the right, tomato on the left. It's not going to do that. But it's just saying background object 1, background object 2, background object 3, because it doesn't know what they are. So if you want to use one of those selections that it made for you, you can hold down your Command key on Mac, PC Control key, and just click on the actual mask. So I'm clicking right here in the Layers panel on the mask because I can kind of see where the circle is, or the little mask, the little white part, and I know where that object, that potential object is. So it selected that tomato. If I scroll down, I'm going to select that bagel. If I scroll over, it's going to select that bagel. So it's a quick way of getting everything masked for you in one operation, and then you can go select anything you need when you need it. Or just keep using it as is. It's whatever you need to do. So first tool you should know is the object selection tool. It just makes selecting objects so much faster than the lasso, than the rectangular marquee, than the elliptical marquee, than every other way we've had to select from that point on. One more time, please. One more time what? Like, I got to talk in complete sentences. One more time, meaning complete explanations. One more time, what do you want to see? One more time. Who is that? Nate. So Nate, if you're talking about the select all objects, let me undo it. Undo, undo, undo. There we go. And just right click on the background and choose Mask All Objects. So I'm in the Layers panel, right clicking, Mask All Objects, and that's what it did. So, and then if I want to select any one of the objects, I don't know what they are because they're not named, but I can see the position, I can see where the mask is. Hold down your Command key on Mac, PC Control key, click, and it will select that particular object. So in this case, I selected that bagel. By Command key again and click, They'll select that bagel, so forth and so on. Now I want a bagel too, I know. All right, so that is the object selection tool. Got to move on. Can't stay on the object selection tool all day. I got 4 more tools to get through in less than 20 minutes. Let me see my timer, by the way. 14 minutes. All right, next tool. Next tool is the remove tool. So I'm going to switch over to a different image. The remove tool, see, because I still have the object selection tool, that's the pink highlighting. Just get out of that tool and you will get rid of the pink highlighting. So I'm going to go to the new remove tool. The remove tool is, it's magical in and of itself. It's the one with the 2 little stars. So it looks like the healing brush, but it has 2 little stars above it to separate it out from the healing brush, spot healing tool, so forth and so on. That tool is basically designed, it uses AI, but not generative fill. So it's not using generative AI, it's just using machine learning and AI to do a quick remove. Now, there's one thing that's cool about it and one thing that you might be annoyed by. So when I make my selection and I accidentally let go, it will start doing it. And you may not be finished making your selection yet. I wasn't finished and I didn't do the other side. That's because by default, it's set to remove after each stroke. So that means you brush and let go, it does it. And that's great when you want it to do that. But when you're trying to do like a big operation, you just want it to calculate all at once, undo. And then in the control panel for that tool, you can turn off remove after each stroke. And it's sticky. It will stay off till you turn it back on. All right, so now if I go ahead and brush and I let go, nothing happens because I'm not finished yet. I go ahead and brush some more. I get the shadow this time. Great. I let go. Nothing happens. So I can take my time brushing, changing the brush size, getting every little nook and cranny that I want and get it just the way I want before I tell it, okay, don't waste time processing when I'm not done selecting. So process it when I'm done. So now that I'm done, I'll click the little check mark or the confirm or commit, and now the processing will happen for that whole thing. And you're thinking, oh, I can see a little bit here, and I can see maybe because I remember it was there, and you can go ahead and continue getting rid of the little fragments or whatever that you saw left, but it's pretty cool. All right. How do you have certain tools on their own? Okay, I covered that, Andrew, in the very beginning. I made a custom tool panel. So that was at the very beginning of the stream. I talked about how I have certain tools on their own. When this is done, go back and watch the very, very beginning. It's literally the first thing I did. All right, so we'll leave this one now. We're going to go on to the next image. And I'm just going to show you, I'm going to turn back on the remove after each stroke. And I'm going to move my contextual tool panel out of the way. And let's say I want to get rid of these little parking posts here. They don't want cars driving in here, but maybe they're a distraction for my scene. So I can just go in and brush and let go, boom. Brush, let go, boom. Brush, let go, boom, boom, boom. So you can quickly get rid of things. No one wants that kid. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Boom, the kid's gone. Let's bring the kid back. All right, so anyway, you can keep brushing quickly when you just want to get rid of a bunch of little things right off the bat. And that's why I like sometimes having that checkbox on and sometimes having that checkbox off. All right, let's go to number 3. Let's go back to this particular image. We'll use this because another tool, it's not a new tool, but it's a tool you should absolutely know, is the crop tool. So I'm going to hit the letter C to go to the crop tool. And normally your crop tool, let me get out of this, clear, escape, C, click. Normally your crop tool would look like this. So it would basically put a series of handles around the whole image. It's going to give you a rule of thirds to do your crop. And you'll notice in the control panel, this is where I spend a lot of time showing people new things, is that there are other options for the crop down. We're used to just pulling the handles in and getting our crop the way we want, and that's cool. But you have the ability to go in, and so let's say you need to straighten a horizon. So let's get out of this image, and let's go to, do I have Jennifer open? I may not have Jennifer. Oh yeah, I do have Jennifer open. This is a text image. Hang on a second. Let's get out of this. No, I don't. Let's go open this image up. So you might want to straighten, this image is pretty straight, but let's say you want to straighten an image, you could go ahead and grab your straighten tool and you can drag it around the thing that should be straight. I'm making it crooked on purpose. And then let go and it will straighten it based on that line. So if your image was only slightly crooked or very crooked, you can drag this straighten along the path that should be straight and it will straighten it for you. So that was that. Let's go back to the diamond clasp here. The other thing you can do with the crop tool is you can go ahead and set a specific aspect ratio. So let's say I need a 16:9 for a video thumbnail. So I'll set it to 16:9. Now that's going to tell me, oh, to get it 16:9, this is all you're going to have. So you can click and you can drag your image and say, well, I don't want to cut off her face or her chin any more than it is. So I can move the image around, and if I crop, that's what's going to be left. But if I say, hey, I still want all of this and I want more, then I can hold down my Option or Alt key and I can pull one of the sides and it will do it proportionally on both sides. And then I can use the great new generative expand to fill in the rest. So I hit generative expand and this will use generative expand, generative AI to fill in. So I'll get my 16:9, but I won't be losing any part of the image. That's the reason why we're doing it this way. So that would give me that one, which doesn't look great, that one, which looks better, and that one, which looks not as good. So I would probably pick that one or generate again. Also, I don't like the blending here, so I'd probably blend that in with the patch tool, which is another tool you'd use. But other than that, that gives me her missing pieces of her arm that I didn't have had I just not done generative expand. Okay, next up, the next tool is the text tool. So that's going to go back to the Jennifer image. There we go. Actually, so the text tool, again, one of those tools, been around Photoshop since day one, but it's grown up quite a bit. So when I click the text tool and I click, it's going to give me some sample text. And I can just go Jennifer in Paris. And that's cool. It'll use whatever font I use last, whatever size I use last, whatever color I use last. So it remembers whatever you did last. But then you can highlight, oh, I didn't get all of it. You can highlight it all. And then you can go in and you can choose your fonts. So I can choose like one of my favorite fonts here. And I can hold down my Command key on Mac, Control key on Windows, and I can scale it bigger. Hold down my Shift key as well, so it scales it proportionally. And then if your font has what do we call them? Alternate glyphs, you can actually choose those glyphs in the glyphs panel. So there's the glyphs panel. Oh, not gradients, glyphs. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. In the glyphs panel, it's showing me the entire font, or I can say alternates for selection, and it'll show me other characters in that font. So there's the other J. If I want the other S, if there are other S's in that font, I can choose the other S or whichever one I want. So this is not in every font. Every font's different. But if your font has alternates, you can see what those alternates are, and you can make something, you can design something custom that no one else will have because no one else took the time to customize the individual characters with their alternates. So even if they typed it in the same font, you're going to have something that looks better. All right, so text is, and I can show you, I can spend the whole day just on text because there are that many options, but don't discount text. Don't think, oh, you know, I'm just putting text on top of a picture. I can do that already on my social media app. No, you can't design it like this. You can't do all the things that this can do. So you can change the colors, you can change the fonts, you can change the line spacing, the leading, the kerning, the tracking, the alignment. You can basically, it is a powerful text engine, very similar to the one in InDesign. All right, so next up, that was the type tool. Last but not least is, and we'll be able to finish on time, let's go ahead and go to this image. And in this image, I'm going to focus in on this eye. This is Shannon, and Shannon's eye is a beautiful color, but I want to change the color. So you could do a selection, you could create an adjustment layer, you can do all of that and make the change. but there's a brand new adjustment brush tool. Now this is literally brand new. This came out in the latest version of Photoshop. And again, it will be wherever it is in your tool panel. You can make your own custom tool panel and pull it out. But there's my adjustment brush tool. And the adjustment brush, think of the adjustment brush as adjustment layers on a brush. So in your layers panel at the bottom, you've got the ability to create an adjustment layer. And then you can make a selection and create a mask, and you can do all of that stuff. This is doing all that for you. So as soon as I choose the adjustment brush, it's giving me all the adjustment layers, choices that I would have. And so I'm going to use color balance. And when I use color balance, now right off the bat, when I start painting, I'm going to get whatever adjustment I use last. So I can see the job I'm doing here, painting this in. And that's great. And it's creating an adjustment layer with that mask on my layers panel. Now I can go in and I can choose whichever, if I didn't want color balance, I can choose a different one. And I can also choose whatever colors I want to use for that eye. So if I want to make that eye super blue, I can make it super blue. I can change it to whatever I want, and it's a non-destructive adjustment that, again, it made with a mask because I just painted it in wherever I wanted it. Now, you also have the ability to say, hey, that was great. Give me a new adjustment now. So you can, right here, without having to go back to the brush and come back in and so forth and so on. In other words, you don't have to start over. You can just say, add a new adjustment. So then you can pick what you want. So I'm going to say that I want a new adjustment of photo filter. There's photo filter. And then it will give me a photo filter adjustment that I haven't started painting yet, but I can now also choose in the contextual taskbar, apply to the object. So when I say apply to the object, that's saying I want to apply this adjustment not to what I brush, but to the whole image. So now when I say, see, it did an object selection. So it's combining the object selection tool and adjustment brush tool in one so that I get an adjustment for the whole thing. So if I wanted to warm this entire area up, I can warm up using that filter or cool down using that filter the whole image. I was not doing a fantastic job warming that up. Oh, sorry, that's not doing a fantastic job because I screwed it up. Hang on, let's get out of that again. Let's add the new adjustment one more time. I forgot to click. Let's go ahead and do photo filter. Apply to object. Apply to object. There we go. And you got to actually tell it the object. So you got to either select the object or click. So now I'm telling it the whole object. I see it in the mask now. And now I can go ahead and warm it up or cool it off. And you can see I'll drastically do it so you can see the difference. And there you go. So just some cool options you have here for the new adjustment brush tool. And again, a lot of little hidden things that you may not have discovered just by painting with the brush because a lot of its magic happens on the contextual taskbar. So that created both of those adjustments. I can turn any one on or off. I can go back to any one and continue working. So if I go back to color balance and I want to change the color of the eyes again, I don't have to do any painting because it's already masked. I can just go ahead and change the color and get that new color, and away I go. So I hope you got something out of the Creative Kickoff today, and you're going to go do some creative, cool things and post them on social and tag me, and so I can see what you've done with this. And that is literally my time. So I see lots of, that's cool, as usual, crystal clear, got here late, sorry, yep, Andrew, you can go back and watch that beginning. We'll try it out. And by the way, I'm doing this all in the release version. I don't have the beta open, so everything I showed you is available in the release version. You don't have to use the beta for anything I showed. So just go check those things out, and we will catch you on the next one. If you're hanging out on Adobe Live today, stay tuned for the next video. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. And once again, we'll connect you on the next one. Don't forget to follow me on social. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can always get more. You can always get notifications. You can always know what's coming next. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.